Or I should say, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to school. It's been a while since I've made any of these videos. My hair is now almost completely out of control, so I might have to stop soon. But let's move on with the course and with the kind of knowledge base of the course. With this clip, I want to move on to topic 4. The full name of topic 4 is Water and Aquatic Food Production Systems and Societies. That's quite a mouthful. So we've got to cover basically our access to fresh water, how we use it, how human societies use fresh water for consumption and for other means, how we use water for food production, and then how we interact with water in good ways and bad ways, including water pollution. The first section, section 4.1, is called Introduction to Water Systems. I'll keep this very brief, and I'll split that section 4.1 into 2 videos. In this one, I just want to talk about water systems themselves, what they are, where they occur. And then in a second video that's also part of Introduction to Water Systems, we'll look at the water cycle. So in this video, I won't look at the water cycle itself, which is a big part of aquatic systems. Here's the syllabus. So I've only put the bits that don't refer directly to the water cycle, just the systems themselves. And basically, there's only 2 bullet points there. One, we need to talk about how fresh water is actually a very small percentage of the total water available on the planet. So therefore, it's a very precious commodity, very precious natural capital. And secondly, we'll just talk about the systems themselves in terms of some flows of water and some storages within the classic model of a system. Above my head, you can see the types of systems, or I should say ecosystems, that we'll look at in terms of water. So we can split them basically into marine ecosystems and freshwater ecosystems. Saltwater or marine ecosystems include the open sea, estuaries, where river water meets the sea, salt marshes, which I'll talk about in a while, together with mangrove forests. We can talk in terms of salt water, or we can also talk in terms of brackish water. Brackish water is where salt water and fresh water mix together, usually in estuaries. And then freshwater ecosystems, obviously, rivers, lakes, and I'll talk about wetlands as well. Okay, so let's move on. We can get through this part of the course very quickly. On the planet, there are 3 types of ecosystems: marine, freshwater, and terrestrial. So 2 of the 3 are based on water systems, the marine and the freshwater. Marine systems, here we can see the open sea, the open ocean. This is a salt marsh. Salt marsh is land that is basically permanently flooded with salt water. Salt marsh. This is a mangrove forest. Mangroves usually grow in estuarine conditions in brackish water, and they're a very threatened ecosystem. And then finally, you've got this is an aerial picture of an estuary. This is actually the River Mersey, where I grew up on this estuary. This is my parents' house where I grew up, is probably around there somewhere. Liverpool is a little bit further up the coast on the River Mersey. This is the Manchester Ship Canal down the side. And then freshwater systems, we've got rivers, flowing water, lakes. This is a picture of a lake fed by a melting glacier rather than a river. And this is a freshwater wetland. So a freshwater wetland is soil, again, that is permanently flooded, but in this case with fresh water. And usually you have these kind of these plants growing, which are basically reed beds, reeds. Okay, so those are the basic systems that we'll look at, the basic ecosystems. In terms of water distribution that we've already mentioned, I think the syllabus said that fresh water makes up around 2.6% of the total water budget of the planet. On this diagram I've got here, it says 3%. So that leaves us with 3% fresh water, 97% salt water. Of that 3% of fresh water, most of it is locked up in ice caps and glaciers, around 68% or 69%. Around 30% in groundwater, which means that the fresh water that's readily available to human societies makes up only around 1% of the 3% fresh water that's actually available on the planet. So you can already see that fresh water is a very precious commodity and a limited commodity in terms of human societies. Of that percentage of surface water, if we go to the final one, about 2% of that surface water is rivers, about 87% in the form of lakes, which leaves about 11% in the form of wetlands, which if you're in the US you would call a swamp. Okay, moving on again. This is our classic model of a system. A system consists of energy or matter in, energy or matter out, some form of feedback loop, and then transformation or transfer processes inside the system and storages. We don't need to go into that, we've seen this a million times already. In terms of water, it's a movement of matter rather than energy. We'll see this in a bit more detail in the water cycle. We have processes going on inside the system in terms of chemical and physical processes. And we have these feedback systems as well, these feedback loops. Okay, and then just to complete this introduction to water systems, systems have flows and storages. The flows include transpiration, evaporation processes, condensation, precipitation, rainfall, movement along the surface, movement down through soil and rock, which we call infiltration and percolation, movement of streams and currents. We'll go into that in detail in the water cycle, so I don't want to label the point. And storages in the system in terms of water, well, water is stored inside organisms, inside soil, inside the atmosphere, and as water bodies, which we've already mentioned. Okay, so that's a very, very brief introduction to what water systems are, and it'll make a lot more sense when we come back to this in the next video when I'll discuss this in terms of the water cycle. Okay, so take care everybody. I'll speak to you in our class soon, and like I always say, look after yourself and your family during this pandemic. Okay, bye bye.